welcome back to the TowerCast podcast, the towering podcast of the towering filmmaker of El Paso in the world. We are at the Las Cruces International Film Festival, and we have been talking to a lot of great people. Right now, I'm going to introduce our very special guest. Very excited to talk to her. Before I do, I got to introduce my fellow co-hosts. We have Mr. John Eric Castro.
How are you guys doing? I'm giving the actor's perspective.
We have Mr. Michael Delao.
Hello, everyone.
And we're very grateful for our crew, Tower Productions in the background. Make sure we're sounding looking great, which is Austin Young and Ricky Rodriguez. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm your co-host, Carlos de la Torre, giving you a writer's, director's perspective, which is going to be interesting. If you see me gushing, it's with really good reason. We're going to talk to the amazing Melissa Barrera, who's just coming off the heels of things like In the Heights, Scream, and premiered a film, an independent feature here in Las Cruces that we're going to love to talk about with her. So thanks so much for joining us, first of all.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited to be here.
And the reason I say I gush is because I'm a massive fan of musical cinema, musical theater, and just seeing you in The Heights and working with Lynn, all that. I'd love to get into that. But before we talk about any of this, tell us a little bit about what made you want to become a storyteller. You know, as an actress, how'd that kick off?
I originally wanted to be a singer.
Okay.
That's how I started to get into performing.
Sure.
I just wanted to sing. And then I discovered musical theater, and I was like, wait, I can act and dance and sing at the same time, and people are clapping? Like, I love that. And so I fell in love, basically, with musical theater, and that's what I saw myself doing for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And you know what they say of, like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So he was like, yeah, no.
Sure.
And so then I started doing TV and movies in Mexico and theater, you know, because that always was my first love. So I always tried to, like, squeeze it in there.
And we're fluent in Spanish, Melissa. So
Yeah,
si quieres,
How come I don't hear an accent? How did you get rid? Because you're from Monterrey. How'd you don't have an accent?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea why.
You learned
People
English
ask
pretty
me all the
early
time.
on, or?
Yeah. Well, in Monterrey, there's an American school. So I went to an American school
Okay.
from like 4 years old to when I graduated. And so I had, you know, all
That
my
training.
classes were in English and everything. But I feel like coming into the United States and people telling me like, oh, your accent's so cute, I'd be like, no, I don't want
That's
to.
not-
I
that's
don't
not-
want people.
that's not
Yeah,
you
I
wanna
don't
be
want people
identified
to be
as.
telling me that. So I think unconsciously I got rid of it.
Sure.
Not like I wasn't like, you know,
Aiming for it.
you know,
necessarily,
I wasn't
but-
like practicing at home, but it just, you know, I have good ear and
Sure,
I
sure.
would just listen to people.
Well, as a
and-
singer,
yeah.
Do you think I have an accent? A Mexican accent? ¿Se me escucha algo?
You have like some sort of accent, but you
I'm
don't
trying to
have.
get rid of it.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, you know. I feel like everyone, depending on where you live, has an accent.
Sure.
you
But
know?
it's also a part of you to a certain
Yeah.
degree, right? So if it
Yeah.
comes out, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Absolutely. No, that's fantastic.
I remember when I was little, you know, there's a standard accent.
Right.
In school, like in theater school, you learn that, like, standard American accent, and that's
Sure.
supposed to be like the neutral. And in Spanish, there's also a neutral,
Yeah.
For performing.
you know, telenovelas have like
Sure.
the neutral.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because my entire life, like, I had a northern accent, like Monterrey, Regia, like a very like heavy northern accent. But to me, I had the neutral accent. Like, I didn't hear my accent, and I would see TV, like I would see the telenovelas, and I'd be like, oh, I talk like that. And it wasn't until I landed, like I literally landed in Mexico City, and everyone's like, oh, you're a Regia, you're from Monterrey. And I was like, how do you know? They were like, your accent. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
No, we get it all the time because being from the border, you know, Juarez is right next to. So we have when we speak Spanish, we get the Chihuahuan, you know, accent, and people pick that up right
you say
away.
Chihuahua?
Chihuahua, yeah.
No, but you say Chihuahua.
Yeah.
I know some people that say
Chihuahua. That is very common.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah. No, my wife is a Spanish. She, like, her degrees are in Spanish, so she corrects me very very frequently. So that's probably why I don't say it. But no, that's fantastic. And how did your experience getting into novellas? I mean, the trajectory is pretty amazing and very inspiring for us as storytellers to jump into the Mexican market, which, you know, we've dabbled in and kind of explored, but at the same time, you break into the American market and it's a whole new world. So how was that experience for you before we kind of get into some of those projects?
It was, you know, I always wanted to cross over.
Okay.
Because to me, the American market and I hate myself for saying American because it's a whole thing of like it's the United States market actually because that like you get it, but like but for Mexicans we're also America, like for Mexicans it's like why do you say you're America when like America is the whole continent? Anyway, we're not gonna get into that.
We get it.
But anyway, so the United States market is global. And so even though Mexico for Latin America is the hub, for the world, the hub was always the United States. So I always knew that if I wanted like a global audience, I needed to be in the US. Yeah. And so I started working in Mexico thinking that maybe it would make it easier to get like my visa to cross over because you have the whole complicatedness of getting working papers to be able to work.
Especially now.
Yeah. So that was a whole thing, and that's why I started in Mexico. And it was a smooth transition, honestly. Yeah, very smooth. You realize that everywhere is the same. You idealize certain things, like people, Hollywood. You're like, oh, Hollywood. It's like it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna be so organized, and it's gonna be lots and lots of money, and like all these things. And then you get there. And it's exactly the same.
Yeah, it was true professionals in Mexico, I was going to say. And a lot of the content, especially because of streaming services, are terrific coming out of there. I mean, something like along the lines of Narcos Mexico is massive right now in the States especially. So those shows and films, people crossing over, like Eugenio Derbez is doing his stuff here in the States now. A lot of people are really crossing over and doing massive things here, including yourself, which it's a huge inspiration for us. Like I said, Mexicanos, Chicanos, Mexican Americans, it's a big deal to us. So that's amazing. And it's good to hear that you feel there's a similar ambiance all around. So that's terrific to hear because it's professionalism at its best, right?
100%. Especially now, like I moved to the US 5 years ago. When I left, the situation was very different. When I left, I didn't feel like Mexico had a lot of opportunities or a lot of like good quality things. Sure. And now, like in the last 5 years, it has grown exponentially, and there's so much work, and they're making such great things, and it's becoming, because of the streaming platforms, like the content is being seen in like many more countries, and so it's beautiful to see that, to see how much the industry in Mexico is growing.
Do you feel like it's ever? I mean, you've obviously had massive success, and I know you're still flourishing in your career here in the States. Or at least maybe we think that, right? We never think we're finished, but we never think we're finished. But and this will be kind of a lasting transition into that. But do you feel like now you think maybe I can go back and really do something out there that I love and that I'm passionate about? And
I've been looking for the right project to go back. Great. It has to be the right one, though.
Sure.
I heard that you just got into another thriller. Like people were asking you since Scream, the horror.
Yeah.
Can we get a little snippet of that?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it because it's such a different kind of movie. It's very unique. I just watched the first cut of it, and I'm very excited. Because I'm a producer on it, so
that's amazing.
I get to watch. When you're a producer pro tip, you get more access, and so you get to see things. You get more say. You get more creative say, and so this is the first film that I'm producing.
That's great.
And I just got to see the first cut of it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful supernatural thriller with so much heart and so much emotion that I think you don't expect that. Like you don't expect a thriller to like move you, really.
No, but there's
the genre, I guess.
Yeah, and so I love it. I love it because of that.
Well, let's kind of jump into some of those projects that we're passionate about, and then you could also tell us what's coming up, right? But I have to ask you about In the Heights because I love Lynn. I love what the film stands for, and walking out of it, I was having conversations with people that it's important. At the end of the day, it's massively important for people like us. We don't get to see a ton of people that look like us in front of the camera or behind the camera. Yeah. So people like Lynn, yourself, have done that for us. So what was that experience like making that picture?
It was a dream. Like it was, I think the feeling that you get watching that movie, which is pure joy, we felt every day.
Okay.
Really?
Like it was
shows, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it like trespasses the screen, and it like hits the audience because that was our experience making it. And it was hard, and we had like so much rehearsal and choreography to
Sure.
learn, and like it was very stressful and
I
a lot
heard
of
that
pressure.
that the pool scene was cold.
Oh my god, it was freezing cold. It was gray skies. Like it's supposed to be the hottest day of the summer, and it was like the rainiest week in New
Movie
York.
magic, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it was a like teamwork, and we were all so we all felt the magnitude and the importance of what we were doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That we were making history.
Absolutely.
Because
It
films
was-
like that are really changing the narrative to, I guess, like the U.S. audience. That it's not just like Mexican-American filmmakers are for one market, and then, the United States is a different market. It's really bridging that together.
Yeah, and getting to have like a Warner Brothers mainstream
Absolutely.
movie promoted in that way with an all brown cast.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Yes.
And all Latino like ensemble, and you get to see all shapes and sizes and
Sure.
shades, and it was just such a beautiful thing to be in the room while it was happening. It was very emotional. It was a very emotional process.
And I don't know how, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but we can tell you firsthand that through our independent pictures, and I just finished writing my first musical feature film.
Oh my goodness!
Mexican-American feature.
Yes!
So love to talk to you about it. We'll talk after. but the reason I say that is because when we're having talks about shopping these things around, In the Heights will set the precedent. Now it's open the doors.
Yeah.
And I know you hear that all the time, but I promise you it's happening.
No, yeah.
It really is happening for us on an independent level anyways, that people are listening now. People are paying attention. So we
Makes me
appreciate
happy.
that.
That's the whole point.
I know we have limited time, so you want to talk about Scream.
Yeah, how was that jump to Scream? Because I know that you come from a theater background, and I heard that each of the crew got different scripts, and then I know how like from theater you have to be like very consistent. But they were telling you to do different takes, to give you a little bit of suspicion, because it's a
No,
whodunit.
we didn't do
That wasn't
different
the
takes.
case.
No, that wasn't the case. We were given different scripts.
Right.
Because they always do that, because in the second movie the script leaked, and so that
Exactly.
then they had to reshoot the ending, and they had to change it because
Right.
like it was out. Wow. And that's the whole point, the reveal. And so now they protect themselves and they do different endings, and so they send the different ones around in case one leaks. They've already got protection.
Wow.
So the script that I got was a completely different ending, but I was sure that was the one. Like no one told me like this isn't the ending. They were like, here it is. So I was so excited, and then I have my meeting with the directors, and I'm like, oh my god, and this and that, and they're like, yeah, that's not. You didn't get the right. I was like. So it kept it interesting for us.
Sure,
Exactly.
sure.
Because we didn't know exactly who was going to end up
Hey.
being the killer, who's going to end up being Ghostface.
I loved it.
Who survives, who dies,
Yeah.
It was exciting.
It sounds and it feels like you're taking a very very unique approach to your career in the sense that people might have expected you to make another musical right after In the Heights.
Exactly.
And though you might be, I know
Yeah.
you got some future projects coming up. You wanted to challenge yourself and do other things, right?
I have this thing of like wanting to always do the opposite of what I just did.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you get into a rhythm, or you don't want to be stereotyped.
I don't want to be put into a
Typecast,
box.
Into a
box,
So
right.
I like literally try to pick something that's the complete opposite, so that people are like, wait a minute, I thought she was the musical actress.
And
What
now-
is she doing now?
Now she's-
And then wait a second,
she's
like so.
That's cool.
I challenge
that.
myself that way, because it's all different muscles. Every
Sure,
genre uses
sure.
different muscles. So I like to keep it interesting.
Fabulous.
that way.
And to talk about just the indie filmmaking side of things a little bit, All of the Road is Sleeping. Man, what a picture, and the context of it all is very. Can you talk a little bit about making that film?
Yeah, this is the first movie that I ever shot in the United States, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was straight off of the first season of Vida,
Okay.
and I was looking to get into films, and I got the script, and I fell in love with it, and I was like, there's no way that they're gonna let me. They're gonna cast me in this role, because it was just so amazing. And usually the roles that I am like so excited for, that are like so rich and so complicated and scary, because whatever scares me, I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. This was so scary. But I'm always, whenever I go out for a role that I really love, everyone's always like, oh yeah, but like we're gonna get a name. Or but like
You're
she looks too
preaching-
young.
preaching to the
Yeah,
choir.
so like that's all. That was like the story of my
Sure.
life, and because this was such an indie movie,
Right.
they didn't have money to get someone famous, so they
Sure.
were actually looking for actors. They were actually looking for like whoever was the best
Which
person
was
for the
our kind of
role.
people.
to explore that.
Yeah, and that was like the best thing ever because I like prepared so much to go to that audition, and then when I got the call and then Luis, my really good friend, got cast in it. It just became like a family affair.
Sure.
And coming here and doing that style of filmmaking, which I'm sure you guys are familiar. It's like friends and friends and friends doing favors and coming in
absolutely.
and like working for nothing because you're passionate about the story you're telling.
Absolutely.
And like sharing, catering is like the mom who cooked and brought food. Like that's
His mom
literally
will be
that's
ready.
literally what this was, and it was all like students that were like
Beautiful.
the crew, like people that just really wanted to learn and be here, and they cared about the story. And so we shot it in 16 days. Like it was so intense and so quick, and it was a beautiful experience. And then it was hard enough to get the money to do that. And then we didn't have money for post, so it took 4 years for the movie to come out. But everything is perfect. Everything is perfect,
And it worked out that way, especially the success of these other films are definitely.
And it's called All the World is Sleeping, and we just tonight here in the Las Cruces International Film Festival, we did our last festival screening.
Yeah.
We came home basically because this is where we shot it.
This is where you shot it.
So I'm so happy.
Where is it going to be? Where can people watch it after? Has it found a home yet?
No, it
Not
hasn't
quite?
found a home yet. I hope it does, because it's a very important story. It's based on the lives of 7 women. Yeah. Sure. It's based on their experiences, and it's a beautiful, very relevant story that people need to see. And it's a lot of people are affected by substance use, and so to get to see a story about a woman that's a mother and what that experience is like is we don't get to see that. And it's, she's a Mexican American woman.
Absolutely. No, I mean, beautiful to bring it back here and off the heels of that. What can you tell aspiring actors, actresses, storytellers, writers, directors, anything? Thank you for advocating for independent filmmakers, because it means a lot to us and people watching. So what advice can you tell them from your perspective?
I would say take the class, send the email, knock on that door, write your script, call up your friends, make that short movie, short film, move. Do the things that you want to do. Like, don't wait for someone to open a door for you, because sometimes people are not going to open the door for you until you open it first yourself.
Sure.
So you need to move, and if you want to do something, find a way to do it yourself. Absolutely. And there's always a way, especially nowadays, especially with all the the access that we have to share content, and people are constantly looking for things. Right. You need to hustle. Absolutely. Basically.
You heard it here on the TowerCast podcast. The amazing Melissa Barrera has imparted her wisdom as a Mexican actress, and now us as Chicano filmmakers, we get it. We get how tough it is, and we admire Melissa for being a voice for us. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Melissa. Thank you for coming down and showing us your film, and we look forward to what's coming up. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're going to keep talking to more people here at the film festival, so stay tuned.